Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission, as always, is to give you that clarity, that insight from dense, really crucial research papers.
Basically, delivering the knowledge without you having to wade through all the jargon.
Exactly. And today, we're diving into a really urgent environmental issue.
Yes, the serious and honestly rapidly mounting risk of aquatic species invasions across Europe's vast inland waterways.
And the foundation for this deep dive is a specific paper. Assessing the risks of aquatic species invasions via European inland waterways, from concepts to environmental indicators.
Right. It's led by Vadim E. Panov and quite a large team, 12 authors in total.
And importantly, it was prepared for the European Commission's Coordination Action Risk-Based Program, so it has real policy implications.
Absolutely. It's essential reading, really, for anyone involved in, continental scale water management.
So why this paper? Why now? What makes it so critical?
Well, it tackles a problem that's really reached a tipping point, you could say.
How so?
European waterways, they've been used for centuries, sure, connecting places, moving goods.
But the invasion threat is different now.
Oh, completely different. It's truly exploded over the last 100 years or so.
So driven by?
Massive construction of new canals and the relentless expansion of international shipping. It's created pathways that just didn't exist before.
Okay, let's try and get a handle on the scale here. Just how vast is this network we're talking about?
The scale is, well, it's almost hard to picture. We're talking about a current navigable network of over 28,000 kilometers.
28,000 kilometers.
Of rivers and canals, yes. And connecting 37 different countries.
Wow.
Think about that. That much contiguous water.
And before all these canals, many of these river systems were ecologically separate, right?
Isolated.
Precisely. That vast network means barriers that nature set up, millennia ago. They've effectively been shattered.
So, what used to be distinct regions are now linked.
Exactly. Historically, the aquatic life in the southern seas, think Caspian, Azov, Black, Mediterranean, totally separate from the northern seas. Baltic, North, White Seas.
Now, these man-made connections create these massive open corridors. Alien species can just move freely between really different biogeographic regions.
And the paper points out this isn't a static picture. It's getting worse.
That's right. Future plans to deepen canals, plus, the accelerating impact of climate change.
Which stresses native species.
Exactly. Stresses the natives and might even make new areas more welcoming to invaders. It just compounds the problem.
So the network's getting bigger, the conditions are changing, favoring the invaders.
You've hit on the core challenge. It sets an extremely high bar for risk management, which is exactly why this paper was so necessary.
Right. So the goal wasn't just counting invaders. It was about developing a framework.
A standardized conceptual risk assessment model. Yeah. Something that could be applied across the whole continent.
How did they even approach that? Was it just crunching huge amounts of data?
Well, that's what's interesting. They recognize the huge amount of scientific uncertainty you get with these large-scale ecological problems. You just can't measure everything perfectly.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So instead of trying for a purely quantitative analysis, which might be impossible, they opted for a highly structured qualitative model.
Structured to manage the uncertainty.
Exactly. And they based it on a common policy framework.
Which was?
The Driving Forces Pressures State Impact Response Framework, DPSIR for short.
Ah, okay. I've heard of that. Standard for environmental indicators, right? Links science to policy.
Precisely. It ensures the science leads towards actionable responses.
So this model they built, it had, 7 components? That sounds complex.
It is comprehensive, yes. It covers everything from identifying where invasions start, to assessing the impact, to developing responses.
Let's break that down. It starts with identification, right? Gateways, corridors, assessment units. Basically mapping the problem.
Correct. Mapping the invasion routes and the ecosystems affected.
But you mentioned the DPSIR framework. Which parts of the model are most critical for, say, policymakers trying to figure out where to intervene?
Good question. You really need to focus on the D, P, and I, the driving forces, the pressures, and the impacts.
So component 3, the driving forces, the human activities, the pathways.
Yes. Component 4, the pressures, like the rate of introduction, the inoculation.
Component 6.
Component 6, the assessment of impacts, the biological pollution risk. Those 3 give you the targets for action.
Got it. Okay, let's start with the geography then. Component 1, these invasion superhighways. There are 4 main ones.
4 principal invasion corridors, yes.
Which one poses the biggest threat, would you say? Or are they all equally bad?
Well, they all matter, but they have different characteristics. The biggest system is the Northern Corridor.
How big?
Huge, 6,500 kilometers. It links the Black, Azov, and Caspian Seas way up to the Baltic and White Seas. Uses the Volga-Don and Volga-Baltic waterways.
And why is that one so significant?
Because it taps into a really unique biodiversity source, the Podcaspian region. Species from there have a massive potential for invasiveness.
Ah, okay. That huge system connects some major inland seas. What about the one most people might think of in terms of European trade?
That'd be the Southern Corridor.
Yeah.
Definitely the most famous for economic activity.
Which connects?
The Black Sea Basin with the North Sea Basin. It uses the Danube-Main-Rhine waterway. Massive system.
How long is that one?
About 3,500 kilometers. And crucially, it has over 125 harbors along it.
Meaning huge potential for ship-mediated introductions. Ballast water, hull fouling.
Exactly. Enormous potential there.
And the other two, quickly.
There's the Central Corridor Black Sea to the Baltic via the Dnieper, and the Western Corridor linking the Med to the North Sea via the Rhone and Rhine-Rhone Canal.
It really is like a spider web, connecting everything up.
It is. And within that web, you have these special entry points they identified, the invasion gateways.
Gateways, different from corridors.
Yeah, they're not the long roads themselves, but transitional spots. Think estuaries like the Don, Danube, Rhine estuaries.
Okay, so river mouths, basically.
Right. And what's critical is they act as sort of acclimatization chambers.
Acclimatization? How?
Because of the mixed salinity.
Yeah.
Brackish water. It allows species that can tolerate a range of salt levels euryhalian species to adapt before they push further inland into pure fresh water.
Fascinating. So the gateways are like staging grounds for the actual invasion deeper inland.
That's a great way to put it. A really important, nuanced distinction they made.
Okay, let's shift to the human element. Components 3 and 4, pathways and pressures. What activities are actually driving this?
The paper lists 7 main ones. The big driving forces.
Such as?
Shipping, obviously. Canals themselves as pathways. Wild fisheries moving things around. Aquaculture or culture activities.
Also things like the pet trade.
Yes. Ornamental and live food trade. Yeah. Leisure activities, boats, angling gear, and even just altering natural water flows can create opportunities.
And they classified the risk from these pathways.
They did, which is vital for targeting management. They used low risk, high risk, and extreme risk categories.
What's the difference between high and extreme?
A high risk pathway is one that's definitely operating like shipping on a canal, but where they didn't find evidence of it actually introducing a new species during their specific observation period, which was 1997 to 2007.
So it's a known danger, but maybe hasn't caused a recent problem.
Right. But the ones needing immediate attention are the extreme risk pathways. Because an extreme risk pathway is one that was demonstrably responsible for an introduction during that decade. Even just one single confirmed record was enough to trigger that classification.
Oh, okay. So that moves it from this could happen to this did happen, proven threat.
Exactly. It demands an immediate response. No more hypotheticals.
That makes sense. Allocate resources where the risk is proven. Now, moving to the pressures, how did they measure the actual rate of new species arriving?
They used propagal pressure, essentially, and quantified it using the biological contamination rate, or BCR.
Which is?
Simply the number of new alien species recorded per 10 years, again, using that 1997-2007 window as a baseline.
Okay, so where was the contamination rate highest? Was it the Southern Corridor, the really busy one?
It was high there, yes. But there was nuance. The Central Corridor was lowest 0 to 7 new species per decade.
And the others?
The Northern Corridor was surprisingly high, actually, 2 to 12 species per decade. And the Southern Corridor was highest, ranging from 3 to 14 species per decade.
Hold on, the Northern Corridor, which you said serves mostly Russian inland systems, its contamination rate was nearly as high as the Danube Rhine.
Yeah, pretty close.
That's interesting. It suggests it's not just about traffic volume, right?
That's a perfect takeaway.
Yeah.
It really shows the quality of the invader pool, the source region, matters immensely, not just how many ships are moving.
Okay, this next bit seems crucial. Moving from just counting things the state to actually assessing the danger, the impact. How did they make that leap?
Right. The initial assessment of state is what they call the biological contamination level, or BCL.
Which is just
a simple count. The total number of established alien species in a specific area, going back quite a way since 1900.
But like you said, a river could have lots of alien species that aren't actually causing huge problems.
Exactly. A high ABCL doesn't automatically mean ecological disaster. A few really nasty species is a very different issue than many relatively benign ones.
So you need to assess the species themselves.
Precisely. And that's where component 6 comes in, with the critical tool. The Species-Specific Biological Pollution Risk Index, or SBPR.
SBPR. Okay, what does that measure?
It's a qualitative index based on experts assessing 3 things about a species: its potential to spread, its potential to establish successfully, and crucially, its potential to cause major ecological or socioeconomic impacts.
So this SBPR index is how they generate those famous risk lists, blacklists, whitelists.
Exactly. If the risk, especially the impact potential, is low or moderate SBPR score of 1 or 2, it goes on the whitelist.
Okay.
But if a species shows high potential to cause significant ecological or socioeconomic harm, that's the key threshold.
It gets flagged.
Jumps straight on the blacklist, gets an SBPR score of 3.
So the blacklist identifies the real troublemakers, the ones managers need to prioritize. What kind of species ended up on that list in the study?
They gave examples like Dracaena polymorpha, everyone knows the zebra mussel,
Oh, yeah. Infamous.
and Dichrogammarus villosus, the so-called killer shrimp. Both prime examples of species demanding blacklist status because their impact potential is just devastating.
Okay, but how does having, say, zebra mussels in one part of the Danube translate back to the overall health status of that whole huge river system?
That's the final step in the assessment, the Integrated Biological Pollution Risk Index, or IBPR.
IBPR, how's that different from just counting species?
Well, there's an Integrated Biological Contamination Index, the IBC, which is basically just based on those BCL species counts.
But the IBPR is different.
Critically different. The IBPR specifically weights the risk by factoring in the presence and abundance of those high-impact blacklist species.
Ah, so it's not just if they are there, but which ones are there and potentially how many. Wait a minute. Does that mean the simple head count, the IBC, might actually be underestimating the real ecological danger?
Consistently. This is arguably one of the paper's most powerful findings. When they calculated ecological status using the IBPR,
What happened?
the status estimates for European inland waterways were generally much lower, often classified as bad status, compared to the estimates you get using just the simple IBC indices.
Wow, that's a huge difference. It forces a completely different view of the problem.
Absolutely. It means that even a low abundance of a blacklist species, like a few zebra mussels showing up, can immediately push the assessed risk status for that whole area much higher.
More precautionary.
Exactly. It shifts the focus away from just the quantity of alien species to the quality or impact of the invasion. Quality over quantity becomes the metric.
It's the precautionary principle actually built into the assessment metric.
You got it. Codified into a number.
So, practically speaking, what does this whole model, especially the IBPR finding, mean for governance? How does this connect back to real-world European policy?
The major implication and recommendation from the authors is that these indicators, BCL, SBC, but especially the precautionary IBPR, should be used as standard quality elements.
Quality elements for what?
For assessing the ecological status of rivers, lakes, canals, everything, under the European Commission's Big Water Law, the Water Framework Directive, or WFD.
Ah, so it provides a consistent risk-based way to measure water body health across all 37 countries.
That's the goal. A uniform, scientifically robust, risk-aware metric.
And thinking about the last step of DPSIR, the responses, what does this model tell managers to actually do?
It gives clear priorities. Prevention efforts need to target those extreme risk and high-risk pathways. Stop the introductions at the source, basically.
Makes sense. And for species already here.
For established species, control and eradication efforts need to be laser-focused on the species on that blacklist. They represent the biggest ecological and economic threat, so that's where limited resources should go.
The paper also mentioned technology. Component 7 was this online risk assessment toolkit, the RAT. What's that about?
Yeah, the RAT. It's envisioned as the practical tool to get this information and methodology out of the paper and into the hands of managers on the ground.
How would it work?
They saw it as a 3-part system.
Yeah.
First, online risk protocols for managers to actually follow. Second, an early warning system, maybe using platforms like the Aquatic Invasions e-journal to flag new threats quickly.
And the third part?
Crucially, an information transmitter, something designed specifically for risk communication to end users, port authorities, river basin managers, whoever needs to know, getting the right info to the right people fast.
Sounds like a really integrated system from assessment right through to communication. But I assume there are still gaps. Did the authors mention limitations or future research needs?
Oh yes, definitely. They stress the need to move beyond just assessing current or past risk. We need truly predictive tools.
Predictive, like forecasting.
Sort of. Tools like FESC or MFIs, standardized systems designed to assess the potential risk of a species before it even arrives in a new region, identifying future invaders.
That sounds incredibly difficult, but vital.
Absolutely. And they also called for more research to pinpoint high-risk donor areas. Where are the next big waves of invaders likely to come from? Understanding the source is key to prevention.
Okay, so wrapping this deep dive up, it's clear that Europe's incredible network of waterways is both an engineering marvel and a massive ecological vulnerability.
That sums it up well.
And the crucial takeaway for you listening is that managing these invasions isn't about simple head counts anymore. It has to be holistic, truly risk-based.
Focusing on those high-impact blacklist species and the pathways, especially the extreme risk ones, that bring them in.
Right. And maybe the final thought to leave people with
Is perhaps that clear scientific validation of the precautionary approach we talked about.
perhaps so.
This study really proves, with data, that when you're assessing the health of these huge, complex ecosystems, the arrival of just a few highly damaging blacklist organisms can completely flip the official ecological status, from good to bad, just like that.
Because the quality of the invasion, the potential impact, overrides the sheer number of invaders.
Exactly. That's the real measure of ecological stress in this context. And understanding that, understanding the focus on specific species and pathways, well, you now have the full context for why managing Europe's aquatic connectivity involves such high stakes.